What's up, guys? We're back with Luke chapter 7. My name is Alex.
My name's Easton.
My name's Luke.
And so, thank you guys for coming back. So here we have Luke chapter 7. There's some more stories that we have about Jesus and healing people and a bunch of miracles. So let's get started. So the first story we have is, it's called the faith of the centurion. And I don't know how to say it, but so pretty much a centurion is just like a Roman soldier, because Rome was like the leading power in this time. And so yeah, they were kind of taking over like everything, and they were like really dominant. So Jesus this continues right off of last video, like literally right after. So Jesus he stops preaching to his disciples, and then so some people come up to him, and they were sent by a Roman centurion to Jesus, because the centurion had heard of Jesus, and he sent like these people to go ask him if Jesus could come heal the centurion's servant. And so they go to Jesus, and they're like, my Lord, my centurion sent us, and they ask him if he could heal him, and Jesus like isn't far from where the centurion is that time. So Jesus is like, okay, well, why don't I just go to him? So Jesus walks with these people to the centurion, and the centurion, first thing he says to Jesus when he sees Jesus is, Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed. So this is amazing right here. Like he's displaying this faith. He doesn't even believe that like Jesus has to be there to heal him. He just says like, Jesus, you can say the word. You're so powerful. You're so mighty. You can say the word and he will be healed. And so this is just like a really kind of turning point. Like this Roman soldier, that they have a different like religion. They support different things. He's confessing his faith to Jesus Christ. And so, and then the soldier starts talking about, I have my own servants, and I tell them go, and they go, and I tell them do this, and they do that. And so he's like, Jesus, if you tell my servant to do this, to be healed, then he will be healed. So Jesus hears this, and he's like amazed at this faith that he's displaying. And Jesus says to him, I tell you, I have not found such great faith in all of Israel. And then, so the men who the centurion sent, they left this house, and they went to the servant, and he was healed. So Alex is gonna discuss the message for you guys of that story right there.
So coming off of that, the main message I took away, and all of us took away, was that faith is very powerful, and you don't have to see or touch Jesus to believe that. It's just like, if your faith is powerful enough, you know that the Lord can do it through his power, and he is always there with you.
It's amazing. All right, Luke's gonna continue us.
So the next story is Jesus raises a widow's son. Now her son dies, and they're carrying her son, and as she's mourning, Jesus comes up to her and says, don't cry. And then Jesus walks up beside him and goes, young man, I say to you, get up. And the boy rises, and he's healed. And then everybody starts saying like, oh, he's a prophet. We haven't seen something like this in forever. But God, or Jesus, is so much more than a prophet. He is God himself.
That's it. Yeah, that's just an amazing story. Jesus, he literally heals the dead. This is the first time we see this, and it's really cool to see this. And so our next story, it's Jesus and John the Baptist. So John the Baptist, John sends his disciples. He sends them to go to Jesus and to ask, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else? So some context is there's prophecies that predict like the Messiah is going to come and save everyone's sins, and like he's going to be there. And so John's like he sends these people to go like ask if he is this person to come and save them from all their sins. So the men reach Jesus, and they ask what John told them to ask. And so Jesus, like before this, Jesus has healed so many people. Healed so many people from diseases, like sicknesses, evil spirits, like demons, people who are blind. He has healed the dead, like brought them back. It's just insane. So he replies to these people, and he's like, just go back to John and report to him everything that you have seen. Me healing the sick, healing the blind, making the paralyzed walk, all of this. And Jesus says, "Blessed is anyone who does not stumble on account of me." So the messengers left, and then Jesus immediately starts to speak about John to this crowd. So he goes, "What did you go out to the wilderness to see? A reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes?" And so John was like, he dressed in like raggedy like clothes, barely any clothes. He ate like
Honey and locusts.
honey and locusts. Yeah, a really wild diet. Nothing about him would be considered like rich or something like that. So Jesus is like, "But what did you go out to see instead of a person with all these rich things? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written." And so it's written in like in the past that like someone's gonna come and prepare the way for Jesus. And Jesus is saying that is John the Baptist. So Jesus says, "I tell you, among those born of women, there is nobody greater than John. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he." And so all the people, like tax collectors, some Pharisees, they hear this and they acknowledge that God's way is right because they had been baptized by John. But then Pharisees didn't say that. I messed that up. But anyway, so the Pharisees hear this and they're like experts in law and like religion, and they rejected God's purpose for themselves because they have not been baptized by John. So Jesus goes on to say, he pretty much calls them, he says, "They're children sitting in the marketplace and calling out to each other. We played the pipe for you and you did not dance. We sang a dirge and you did not cry. For John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and you say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking." He's speaking of himself there. "And you say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by all her children." So would you like to try and explain that a little bit more? What Jesus said? Speaking of the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and here's a glutton and drunkard.
So they're talking about him and they're trying to say like, "Oh, he's sinful, look at all of his sins," but the truth is Jesus is perfect. He's not sinful. They're trying to falsely accuse him of stuff about being like drunken, by saying he's drinking, but he's not getting drunk, so he's not a drunkard. They're saying stuff like he's a glutton because he's eating a lot of food, but the truth is he's not a glutton. And so they're just saying all this false stuff. But wisdom is proved right by all her children, meaning stuff like when you truly have wisdom, it's proven by you paying like close attention. So it's like they're saying all these lies, and if you believe the Pharisees' lies, then it's like you're going to be tricked and there's no wisdom in that. But if you listen carefully and actually do a little bit of digging yourself and come to find the truth, which is Jesus is none of those things, then you're going to have true wisdom.
That's it.
Wait, I was also going to say that I should point out. Oh shoot. Oh wait, yeah. So they're kind of just like using these false lies in their head to, I feel like, just make them feel better about themselves and about like their actions and how they act and how they teach people. And they try to get into other people's heads as well with this.
That's a good message.
Thanks.
All right, and we have one more story for you guys. So here you go.
Jesus anointed by a sinful woman. So to sum down this story, one of the Pharisees invite Jesus to have dinner, and now Jesus is eating with this Pharisee, but this woman comes in who's a sinner, and she's putting this really high quality perfume on Jesus's feet and wiping them with, or she's crying on his feet too, which is kind of like washing them and then wiping them with her hair. And then the Pharisee is disgraced by this. He's like, "Who are you? What are you doing? You're letting this sinful woman wash your feet with her hair and her tears." And then Jesus, I believe, he doesn't even say it out loud. Jesus just knows what he's thinking. And he says, "Simon," which is this Pharisee's name, "I have something to tell you. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other one 50. Neither of them had money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now which one of them will love him more?" Simon replied, the Pharisee, "I suggest the one who had the bigger debt to pay." And Jesus said, you are correct. Now, what this is saying isn't saying just because somebody is like has a higher sin means that they're going to love Jesus way more than someone who has a lower sin. But it is saying like most people that have sinned higher and then get forgiven by God have a much higher understanding of like what it means to be forgiven and understand how great God's mercy is. Because say somebody steals a water cup, right? They're not really going to understand and then they become Christian, and then God forgives them. It's like they're not really going to understand how great God's mercy is because they've only been forgiven of stealing a water cup. But now somebody, say, murdered somebody, and then they're forgiven and become a Christian. They understand how great God's mercy is because he has forgiven them of such a high sin. Now, no sin is greater than another one, but like in human eyes, murder is way worse than stealing.
That's a great message, great story. And then actually, just to finish that story off, Jesus tells this girl, your sins are forgiven. And then so everyone in the room is like, who does he think he is forgiving these sins? This happens many of times in the Bible. He'll forgive someone's sins, and then he'll be questioned. Like, people are like, who does he think he is forgiving sins? Only God can do that. And then Jesus goes on to say to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. So that is an amazing chapter, and we see so many great acts of faith of people, and Jesus praising these great acts of faith, and it's just a really nice story. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we should be back soon for Luke chapter 8.
Stay blessed.
Stay blessed.
Thank you guys.